father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are come unto me, and the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle. And they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. And it shall come to pass, when Pharaoh shall call you, and shall say, What is your occupation? That ye shall say, Thy servant's trade hath been about cattle from our youth even until now, both we and also our fathers, that we may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians. Now, notice something very strange here. Joseph tells Pharaoh the men are shepherds, yet at the very end he instructs them to say they are cattle shepherds specifically. He then says that the Egyptians hate shepherds. Why? They like cattle shepherds, but not the other shepherds? What other type of shepherds? This line has nothing to do with Joseph or anything else holy. It was deliberately inserted by later church writers by order of their superiors. Why? Why don't they want you to know? They want you to think that the Egyptians hated the other kind of shepherds, the shepherds of sheep. Now what? You may ask, what could sheep ever do that would endanger your belief in God? Sheep are nothing, docile little creatures. What the early church fathers are doing here, note, early church fathers, includes both Hebrew and later Roman Catholic, is preventing an association that could, if revealed, damage your entire belief system. What? Over a bunch of sheep? No, my friend, over the people whose use of the sacrificial lamb was an integral part of their religion. The priestesses of Isis who, during the sacrifice ritual of killing a young male lamb and then spread the lamb's blood over the altar and door lintel, would call upon Isis by her other names as the great shepherdess, the patron goddess of the shepherds, their star. Friends, the above information is not theological dynamite. It is a thermonuclear weapon. You are looking at a deliberate act of concealment. Remember the above information, as it will be, just as they feared later on, totally devastating. Thus, the Hebrew nation was conceived, but it was not yet born. For that milestone in Hebrew history, we need to jump ahead to the house of a Hebrew slave and a very distraught Hebrew mother. Note, you may want to read chapter 1 of Exodus. All midwives were priestesses of the birth goddess Hathor and Hecate. Exodus 2. And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and doped it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And the Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses, and said, Because I drew him out of the water. Now, isn't that a beautiful story? That's only one small problem. There's only one small problem with it. It never happened. What? Are you crazy? I can hear you. I can hear you now. Come on. Didn't you ever watch the Ten Commandments? Yes, I have. And it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But like it or not, Moses and much of his story is made up. I know you are going to have a problem with this, so I'm going to tell it real slow and from the beginning. The later church fathers, specifically the Hebrews this time, needed a history for their people. This is why in Genesis you find all those former stories and legends already written, but then taken by the Hebrews, modified, made their own. Remember, since they are many people in one, it is in fact their history. So now you might expect me to say the story of Moses was borrowed from some earlier people's legend and incorporated into Hebrew history, right? Wrong. The story of the exodus of the Hebrew people did in fact occur. It is the story of Moses that was made up. By now you must be thoroughly confused, which is, by the way, just what the church fathers wanted you to be. Should you ever try to figure this out? Why, you should ask, would they need to make up an imaginary person like Moses if, as you even said, Exodus did take place? The answer is really very simple. The actual person that led the Hebrews out of Egypt was totally unacceptable from a theological standpoint to the early patriarchal Hebrew writers of the Bible. That's nice, you say, but once more in English, if you please. Okay. The person who led the Hebrews out of Egypt was a woman, not a man. Wow. That's the second time we've gone nuclear, and we're only in the second chapter.